By the time I came home from the pharmacy, the oldest thing on my property was lying in pieces across my backyard. Not damaged, not trimmed, cut down my 70-year-old oak tree. The one that shaded half my house every summer and had been marked as a protected heritage tree by the county, had been sliced into logs and stacked beside my fence like firewood. Sawdust covered the grass. Fresh tire tracks ran across my side yard. A broken bird feeder was buried under branches, and beside the stump, someone had left a bright orange HOA work notice taped to a wooden
As you can see,
stake.
the work is complete.
The notice said,
It
the
was a
tree had been
necessary
removed due to
administrative
safety
decision.
concerns and community
a living
appearance
thing.
standards. The problem was that tree was not in a common area. It was not on HOA land. It was not even close to the property line. It stood 12 feet inside my backyard, on land I owned, on a lot I paid taxes for. Under a county protection ordinance, the HOA had been warned about twice before. But when I called the HOA president, he acted like I should be grateful. He said the tree was an eyesore. He said several neighbors had complained about falling leaves.
The destruction was necessary.
He said the board had voted
This was
to
an
take
emergency
action after I
removal for the
failed to
safety of the
cooperate.
community.
By dinner,
It's regrettable,
the HOA had sent me a
but
fine for
unavoidable.
unauthorized tree removal. They cut down my tree, then they fined me for cutting down my tree. That was the first moment I realized this was not incompetence. It was a cover-up. The second moment came when I checked my backyard camera at 8:17 that morning. While I was gone, 3 men in yellow vests entered my yard through the side gate. At 8:22, the HOA president walked in behind them holding a clipboard. At 8:31, one of the workers pointed toward my camera. At 8:34, the camera went dark for exactly 6 minutes. But my second camera, the one
They got a
mounted
camera
under
right
the
there.
patio roof,
Doesn't matter.
kept
I'll take care of
recording.
it.
3 weeks later, that hidden angle would cost the HOA $68,000, force the president to resign,
We need to get this wrapped up
trigger a
before she
county
returns.
code enforcement investigation, and make their landscaping contractor lose the biggest account he had. But standing there that afternoon, staring at the stump where my oak tree used to be, all I could think was that someone had walked into my yard, destroyed something living, and expected a notice on a stake to make it legal. They were wrong because trees leave rings. Cameras leave timestamps, and arrogance leaves a paper trail. I bought my house in Marlow Creek because of that oak tree. That may sound strange, but it is true. The first time I toured the property, I barely noticed the kitchen cabinets, the old carpet, or the cracked concrete path near the garage. I noticed the backyard, more specifically. I noticed the massive oak spreading over the grass like it had been waiting decades for someone quiet to sit beneath it. The realtor told me the tree was one of the oldest in the neighborhood. Its trunk was so wide I could not wrap my arms around it. Its branches shaded the back windows in the afternoon, which made the house cooler during Texas summers in the fall. The leaves turned bronze and gold, and every year the same pair of cardinals nested somewhere in the upper branches. I was not wealthy. I was not retired. I was a middle school librarian who had saved for years to buy one modest house in one quiet neighborhood. I did not want drama. I wanted a place where I could read on the patio, plant tomatoes, and come home without feeling like the world was still chasing me. For a while, Marlow Creek gave me that. The HOA was annoying but manageable. They sent reminders about trash cans, mailbox paint, lawn height, and holiday decorations. I followed the rules because I did not want conflict. I paid my dues. I attended maybe one meeting a year. I smiled at neighbors. I kept my yard clean, but the oak tree was always a sore spot for the board. Every spring leaves fell into the drainage swale behind my yard. Every summer acorns landed near the walking path. Every fall, the HOA landscaping committee complained that mature trees made the neighborhood look uneven because newer homes had smaller ornamental trees. They never said directly that they wanted mine gone, but they kept finding ways to bring it up. The first formal notice came 3 years after I moved in. It claimed the tree needed to be professionally trimmed because branches extended toward a shared fence. I hired a certified arborist, paid for a proper inspection, and had minor deadwood removed. The arborist told me the tree was healthy and, more importantly, protected under the county's heritage tree ordinance because of its size and age. That was when I learned the oak could not be removed without a county permit. I sent the arborist report to the HOA. For a while, they backed off. Then a new HOA president was elected. His name was Warren Pike, and he believed every problem in the neighborhood could be solved with a rule, a fine, or a contractor invoice. He talked constantly about property values. He hated anything that looked old, natural, or unpredictable. To him, a tree that dropped leaves was not a tree. It was a maintenance issue with branches. At the first meeting he chaired, he announced a neighborhood beautification plan. New mulch beds, matching shrubs, uniform front yard trees, cleaner sight lines, fewer visual obstructions. Everyone knew what that meant. A month later, I received another notice about the oak. This one said, the board had received complaints about debris, shade, and potential liability. I replied with the arborist report and the county heritage tree documentation. I also reminded them that the tree was on my private property. The HOA manager sent a short reply saying the board would review the file. After that, the tone changed. Neighbors started mentioning the tree casually, as if they had all received the same talking points. One said old trees could fall without warning. Another said insurance companies did not like large limbs. A third asked whether I had considered replacing it with something cleaner. Cleaner. That word stuck with me, because the oak was not dirty, it was alive, and in a neighborhood obsessed with control, that made it inconvenient. The morning it happened, I was only gone for 90 minutes. I left around 7:45 to pick up medication and a few groceries. The sky was clear, the yard was quiet, the oak tree was exactly where it had always been, its branches moving slightly in the wind. When I came back, I knew something was wrong before I even turned into my driveway. There was a white landscaping truck parked near my side gate. A wood chipper sat by the curb, my gate was open, and above the roofline the wide green crown of the oak was gone. At first my mind refused to understand what my eyes were seeing. Then I heard the chainsaw. I ran through the side gate and saw 3 workers cutting the last large limb into sections. The trunk had already been taken down to a stump, branches were piled across my lawn. My tomato plants were crushed, my patio chairs were buried under leaves. The little bird feeder my niece had painted for me was broken in half under a section of limb. Warren Pike stood near the stump with a clipboard. He looked irritated that I had come home early. He told me the HOA had authorized emergency removal. He said the tree was hazardous. He said I had ignored repeated warnings. He said the board had a duty to protect the community. I remember staring at him, trying to make the words fit the scene. Emergency removal, repeated warnings, protect the community. None of it made sense. There had been no emergency. No storm damage, no arborist report saying the tree was unsafe, no county permit posted, no written authorization from me, no court order, just men with chainsaws standing in my backyard, like the HOA had turned my property into a work zone. I told them to leave. Warren said the work was almost done. That sentence told me everything I needed to know about him. He did not think permission mattered once the damage was mostly complete. The workers kept cutting for several more minutes while I stood there shaking. I wanted to grab the chainsaw. I wanted to scream. I wanted to shove the clipboard into Warren's chest and ask him who he thought he was. Instead, I took out my phone and started recording. That changed the mood. The workers slowed down. Warren lowered his clipboard. One of the men muttered that they had been told the HOA had authority. Another avoided my eyes completely. Warren tried to turn the situation around immediately. He said my refusal to maintain the tree had forced the board's hand. He said the HOA would document my non-compliance. He said, if I interfered with the contractor, I could be billed for delays, billed for stopping people from cutting down my tree. By the end of the day, the HOA sent me 2 emails. The first said, the tree had been removed under the association's emergency nuisance authority. The second fined me $900 for unauthorized removal of a protected tree, stating that because the tree was on my lot, I was responsible for the violation. I read that email 3 times. They had created the violation, then assigned it to me by sunset. Warren had posted a message in the neighborhood group saying a hazardous tree had been removed after months of owner neglect. He did not name me, but he did not have to. My backyard was visible from the walking path, and everyone could see the stump. The comments started quickly. Some people thanked the board for taking safety seriously. Some said the neighborhood looked cleaner already. One person said, homeowners who ignored maintenance should be held accountable. That one hurt, because I had maintained that tree better than most people maintained their roofs. I had arborist reports, I had pruning invoices, I had county documentation, I had emails warning the HOA that the tree was protected, but Warren had something I did not have yet. He had spoken first, and in an HOA neighborhood, the first version of the story can spread faster than the truth if it comes with official letterhead. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with the file open on my laptop and the smell of fresh-cut oak still coming through the windows. I did not know exactly how I was going to fight them. But I knew one thing: they had not just cut down a tree, they had cut down evidence of their own arrogance. The first thing I did was make copies of everything: the HOA emails, the fine, the old notices, the arborist report, the pruning invoice, the county heritage tree page, the photos I had taken the moment I came home. I saved everything into a folder named Oak Tree Evidence. Then I checked the cameras. I had one camera mounted near the back door facing the yard. That was the obvious one. It had recorded the crew entering through my side gate at 8:17 a.m. It showed Warren arriving 5 minutes later. It showed the first chainsaw being started. Then, at 8:34, the video went black. For 6 minutes, nothing. When the footage returned, the camera angle had shifted slightly upward, as if someone had bumped or turned it. At first, I felt sick. Then I remembered the patio camera. It was smaller, older, and half hidden under the roof line, because I originally installed it to watch for raccoons getting into my garden. Nobody ever noticed it. Not delivery drivers, not neighbors, not even my niece, who loved pointing out every gadget in my house. That camera had a side angle of the yard, and it had kept recording. The footage showed one of the workers pointing toward the main camera. It showed Warren walking over to it. It showed him reaching up with the clipboard still in his hand. Then the main camera went dark. The patio camera also captured audio, clearly enough to hear Warren telling the crew to finish before I got back. I sat frozen at my desk. That one sentence changed everything. This was not an emergency. This was not a mistake. This was not a board acting in good faith. Warren knew I was gone, knew I had not given permission, and wanted the job finished before I returned. I downloaded the raw files immediately. Then I called the county planning office. The woman who answered transferred me to environmental code enforcement after I mentioned a protected heritage oak. I explained that the tree had been removed from private property without my consent and asked whether any permit had been issued. There was a long pause while she checked. No permit. No emergency removal authorization. No arborist hazard certification on file. She told me to submit a formal complaint with photos, the stump diameter, the location of the tree, and any evidence showing who removed it. She also advised me not to let anyone grind the stump until the county inspected it. That mattered because the stump still held proof. Its diameter proved the tree qualified as protected. Its location proved it was inside my property. The cut marks, sawdust, and tire tracks proved the removal had happened recently. I photographed everything with a measuring tape beside it. Then I called the arborist who had inspected the tree the year before. His name was Paul Renner. He remembered the oak immediately because, in his words, healthy trees that size were getting rare in our county. He agreed to come out the next morning. When he saw the stump, his face changed. He inspected the cut sections still left in the yard and confirmed there was no visible rot, no split trunk, no disease pattern, and no emergency condition that would justify immediate removal without a permit. He prepared a written report stating that, based on his prior inspection and the remaining wood, the tree had appeared structurally sound. Then I contacted an attorney. I did not want to sue anyone. I wanted my tree back, which was impossible. So the next best thing was making sure the people who destroyed it could not bury the truth under HOA language. The attorney, Melissa Grant, reviewed the HOA emails, the fine, the camera footage, the arborist report, and the county information. She told me the HOA had created several problems for itself at once: trespass, property damage, possible violation of county tree protection rules, wrongful fine, and potential bad faith conduct if the board knowingly blamed me for a removal it authorized. Then she asked one question that made my skin go cold. She asked whether the HOA had insurance coverage for board decisions and contractor actions. I did not know, but I knew where to look. The HOA's governing documents required them to maintain general liability and directors' and officers' insurance. I had never paid attention to that section before. Now it mattered. Melissa sent the first preservation letter that afternoon. It demanded that the HOA preserve all emails, text messages, board votes, contractor invoices, work orders, meeting notes, insurance communications, and video or photo evidence related to the oak tree removal. By the next morning, Warren stopped posting online. That was when I knew he had finally realized something. He had not removed a nuisance. He had created a case file. The county inspector arrived 2 days later. He did not look at the stump for very long before asking for a measuring tape. The oak's diameter was well above the threshold for protected heritage status. Its location was clearly inside my lot. The inspector checked the county map, compared it to my property records. and confirmed the tree had not stood in a common area, utility easement, or HOA-maintained zone. It had been mine, and because it was protected, removing it without a permit was not just a private dispute. It was a county violation. The inspector took photos of the stump, the cut sections, tire tracks, crushed plants, and access path through my side gate. Then he asked who authorized the removal. I gave him the HOA notice, the emails, and the camera footage. When he watched the patio camera clip, he played it twice, the part where Warren reached toward the main camera, the part where he told the crew to finish before I got back, the part where the chainsaw started again after the camera went dark. By the time he left, he had opened an enforcement file. The next day, the HOA suddenly changed its tone. The manager sent an email saying the board had acted based on contractor advice and community safety concerns. The fine against me, she wrote, was being temporarily suspended pending review. She also said the board had believed the tree was located within an area subject to Association Maintenance Authority. That was false. The HOA's own plat map showed the common area stopped behind my rear fence. My oak stood in the middle of my backyard. There was no honest way to confuse it with HOA land, unless someone never checked the map or did not care what the map said. Then Melissa received the contractor's work order. That was the real turn. The work order did not say emergency removal. It did not say hazardous tree. It did not mention a storm, a broken limb, disease, or immediate danger. It said, remove large oak from lot 42 backyard per HOA beautification directive. Complete while owner is away if access is available. While owner is away. Those 4 words destroyed every excuse Warren had made. The work order also listed the HOA as the customer and Warren Pike as the approving board contact. It included a note that the side gate would be unlocked by board authorization. My side gate had not been unlocked by me. It had been opened by someone reaching over the latch. The county added the work order to its enforcement file. Melissa added it to the demand letter. The letter to the HOA was direct. It stated that the board had authorized entry onto private property, caused removal of a protected tree without county approval, attempted to conceal the action by interfering with a camera, then fined the homeowner for the violation created by the board's own contractor. It demanded withdrawal of the fine, reimbursement for all costs, compensation for the destroyed tree, payment for property restoration, and written notice to the community correcting the false claim that I had neglected or removed the tree. It also put the HOA's insurance carrier on notice. That was when the number appeared, $68,000. That was the estimated value of the destroyed heritage oak. Restoration costs, arborist fees, legal expenses, damaged landscaping, and county mitigation requirements. The tree could not be replaced with another 70-year-old oak. The county required replacement plantings and penalties based on protected tree removal rules. The arborist calculated loss based on size, species, condition, and location. Warren had treated the oak like yard waste. On paper, it became one of the most expensive things the HOA had ever touched. The board tried to blame the contractor. The contractor tried to blame the HOA. The HOA manager said there had been confusion. Warren said he had relied on complaints and believed the tree posed a risk, but the documents did not support any of them. There was no hazard report, no permit, no emergency call, no signed consent, no county approval, and no explanation for why the work order said to complete the job while I was away. The protected tree ordinance did what my anger could not do. It turned my grief into a violation they could not ignore. The county issued a notice of violation against the HOA and the landscaping contractor, not against me. That sentence still felt unreal when I first read it. For days the board had acted as if I was the irresponsible homeowner. Warren had told neighbors that the tree was hazardous. The HOA had fined me for unauthorized removal. But now the County S letter identified the association and its contractor as the parties responsible for removing a protected heritage tree. Without the required permit, the notice required mitigation. Replacement plantings, payment of administrative penalties, and a restoration plan for my property. It also warned that failure to comply could lead to additional fines. Then my insurance company got involved. Their adjuster documented the crushed garden beds, broken bird feeder, damaged fence panel, tire ruts, and impact damage to my patio edge. The tree itself was handled separately because of its protected status and appraised value. But the property damage was obvious enough. Every photo became another page in the file. Melissa advised me to attend the next HOA meeting. I did not want to. I wanted to close my curtains and pretend the stump was not visible from my kitchen window. But Warren had made the story public when it helped him. The correction needed to be public too. The meeting was packed. People had heard rumors about county fines. Some had seen the inspector. Others had noticed that Warren had stopped posting his usual updates about beautification. The mood in the room was different from any HOA meeting I had ever attended, less bored, more suspicious. Warren tried to begin with routine business. That lasted less than 2 minutes. A homeowner asked why the association had received a county violation for cutting down a protected tree. Another asked why I had been fined if the HOA ordered the removal. Someone else asked whether the board had entered my property without permission. Warren tried to use careful language. He talked about safety concerns, beautification goals, and contractor recommendations. But careful language does not survive direct evidence. Melissa stood and presented the timeline. The prior arborist report, the county heritage tree status, the HOA notices, the camera footage, the work order, saying to complete the job while I was away. The fine sent to me after the HOA authorized the removal. The room changed when she read that part. People who had been neutral became uncomfortable. People who had supported Warren looked at the floor. One older man in the back asked whether the board had authority to enter any homeowner's yard whenever it disliked a tree. Nobody answered. Then a woman whose backyard backed up to the walking path asked whether her old pecan tree could be next. That was the moment the issue stopped being my tree. It became everyone as property rights. The HOA's attorney, who had been sitting silently near the front, finally advised the board not to discuss details without reviewing the insurance claim. That made the room even angrier, because by then everyone understood what silence meant. The board voted that night to withdraw my fine permanently. They also agreed to send a written correction to the neighborhood, stating that I had not authorized or performed the removal. Warren objected to the wording, but no one backed him up. 2 weeks later, he resigned as HOA president. The landscaping contractor lost the HOA account. The county required replacement trees, soil restoration, and mitigation payments. The HOA's insurance carrier negotiated with my attorney, and the final settlement reached $68,000. It did not bring the oak back, but it made the lie expensive. And sometimes that is the only language an HOA board understands. The stump stayed in my yard for months. At first, I hated looking at it. Every morning I would make coffee, glance through the kitchen window, and feel the same hollow drop in my chest. The shade was gone, the cardinals were gone, the sound of leaves brushing the roof in the afternoon was gone. Money could not replace that. That was the part people sometimes misunderstood. The settlement mattered, the penalties mattered, the apology mattered, but none of it made a 70-year-old tree grow back. Still, consequences mattered too. The HOA withdrew the fine and sent a written correction to every homeowner in Marlow Creek. It stated that I had not removed the tree, had not authorized its removal, and had provided documentation that the tree was protected. The board also admitted that future work on private lots would require written owner consent, county verification when applicable, and board approval recorded in meeting minutes. Warren resigned. At the next election, 2 of his strongest supporters lost their seats. The new board suspended the beautification plan and created a property access policy that said no HOA representative contractor or committee member could enter a homeowner's fenced yard without written permission, except in a true emergency documented by the county or sheriff. The landscaping contractor lost the neighborhood contract and had to respond to the county enforcement file. The replacement trees were planted under county supervision. They were smaller. Of course, young, fragile, nothing like the oak, but they were planted where I chose. That mattered. I planted 1 live oak near the back corner and 2 smaller native trees along the fence. The arborist helped me pick them. My niece painted a new bird feeder and hung it from a shepherd's hook near the patio. The first time a cardinal landed there, I cried harder than I expected. Not because everything was fixed, because something had started again. For months afterward, neighbors stopped me while walking their dogs. Some apologized for believing Warren. Some admitted they had thought the board must have known what it was doing. A few said they checked their own property records for the first time because of what happened to me. That might have been the only good thing to come from it. People started reading their documents. They started asking where common area ended and private lots began. They asked whether old trees were protected. They asked why the HOA had been able to issue a fine without verifying who caused the violation. The board never became perfect. No HOA does, but it became more careful as for me. I kept the blue county folder in my office. Inside were the photos, the arborist reports, the county notice, the work order, the settlement papers, and one printed image from the patio camera. Warren standing under my oak with a clipboard moments before he reached toward the other camera. I kept it for one reason, to remind myself that people who abuse power often count on you being too shocked to document what happened. I was shocked, I was heartbroken, but I documented everything anyway. So if an HOA, a neighbor, or a contractor ever tells you they have authority over your property, do not rely on their confidence. Check the deed, check the county records, save the notices, keep the footage, ask for the permit, and never assume official letterhead means they are telling the truth. If this story made you think of someone who needs to hear it, share it with them. Leave your thoughts in the comments, save the video, and subscribe for more stories about ordinary homeowners who learned that the quietest person in the room can still have the strongest evidence. Because the oak tree did not come back, but the lie that cut it down never stood a chance.